So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News and Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, revise this lecture just after watching it, because if you don't, then these current affairs would quickly skip your memory, and we don't want that. We need to at least retain them till our exams. Therefore, to do that, you need that revision. And you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes are shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Alright then, let's begin with today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So let's begin. So daily current affairs, 10th of January, and it's Saturday, and here is the list. So number one on this list is US pulling out of 66 global organizations, and more than 30 of these global organizations are United Nations organizations. This is basically USA pulling out of international rule-based order. This is really alarming news. We'll talk about this. Then, topic number 2 is wide disparities within NATO. How is USA able to bully all the other NATO members like Denmark, Greenland, the Greenland controversy? How is USA able to bully all the NATO allies? We'll talk about this because there is some structural problems within NATO. So we'll talk about this. Then topic number 3 is related to free speech versus social media. Our IT rules allow these social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and all these social media platforms, X, to censor speech. Now, there is this debate between free speech and allowing social media platforms to censor speech. So what is this debate? What are the laws in Indian laws that are involved in this? What was the entire case all about? We'll talk about this. It is important from legal perspective, rights-based, freedom of speech and expression right. And topic number 4 is related to shadow fleet of Russia. Recently, USA destroyed an oil transporting ship which was transporting Venezuelan oil to Russia. Now that ship it actually belonged to shadow fleet. So what is shadow fleet? Through which Russia was smuggling banned oil. Okay, we'll talk about this shadow fleet. What is it? What are the techniques used to keep this fleet shadow? All these things. So these are the 4 topics that we shall zero in our attention on. Topic number 1 is related to IR, International Relations portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 2 is also IR. Topic number 3 is related to polity portion of our UPSC syllabus. And topic number 4 is also related to IR. It's a IR heavy lecture. Nonetheless, let's start discussing each and every topic one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is USA pulling out of 66 global organizations. Now, ever since Donald Trump has come to power, he has been criticizing the established world order. Okay. Now, until now, he was just criticizing. Now he has started acting against it. Okay. First, breaching UN law by invading Venezuela. That was number 1. Then criticizing, Denmark for occupying Greenland. Okay. USA says that Denmark has occupied Greenland. Greenland belongs to USA. Then basically criticizing NATO allies. Then recently, USA, it took this criticism of United Nations one step ahead. And that was pulling out of various UN bodies, not United Nations completely, but certain UN bodies and other global international bodies. Now with this, USA is retreating back from international rule-based order. Now, what is the problem with this? Okay, first of all, we'll talk about what is the entire situation, which organizations are affected by this, and what impact will it have? Because when USA vacates a position, China quickly fills in. So China will assume leadership positions in these bodies, UN bodies from which USA has vacated. And this is not good news for certain countries, especially India, because we consider China to be our adversary. Okay. So what is this entire topic? Let's quickly investigate. So let's begin. So USA pulling out of 66 global organizations. So in the news, President Trump has withdrawn from USA from 66 international organizations, including key UN bodies, which also includes an international body that was led by India and headquartered in India, and that was International Solar Alliance. Okay, India had leadership position in this. USA vacates from this as well. It covers 31 UN-linked entities and 35 non-UN groups, covering all sorts of bodies which look after climate change, health, like WHO, human rights, economic domains, everything. So USA has taken the biggest step towards its retreat from global rule-based international order. Now, which key bodies are affected by this? Okay, so we have all these 66 international bodies can be grouped into three categories. Certain bodies, international bodies, belong to health and humanitarian group. Okay, then certain belong to climate and clean energy group, and then certain category or certain UN bodies or international bodies belong to economics and human rights based groups. Okay, now when we talk about health and humanitarian, well, WHO. Now, WHO will be short of key funding that is required for its operation. Then there is UNESCO, United Nations Human Rights Council, okay, UNRWA. All these organizations would be, USA would retreat from them. Then climate change. USA withdraws from UNFCCC. This is the main body responsible for humanity's fight against climate change. USA has completely vacated this. IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, International Solar Alliance, all these and many more. Then USA has withdrawn from OECD's Global Tax Deal, okay, UNFPA for reproductive health, UN Women, UNCTAD, a trade body, all of these. Now, this is really sad because these organizations were doing good work as well. But USA has said that these bodies no longer serve American interests. And Donald Trump's election campaign promise was America first. This was his tagline also, America first, everyone else later. So he's saying that I'm fulfilling my America first promise by giving up on those international bodies that are contrary to American interests. So this is the entire thing. Now, what sort of impact will it have on the entire world? Okay, in broader terms, and India in particular. So what will be the impact of all of this? So, number one, health and humanitarian. We all know WHO will be impacted because USA was the key provider of funds to these bodies. So, health, humanitarian groups would get a challenge. Climate change goal would be taking a beating of sorts, okay? Would be a setback for our fight against climate change. Then economic impact, because USA has vacated its position from various trade bodies, international trade bodies, economic groups. And then there are certain implications for India. Now, how would India be impacted? Number one, this would be a direct hit on International Solar Alliance, which was an international body spearheaded by India, created by India, headquartered by India in India. So this is the direct hit. Then there are various international organizations which India use for its own purpose. For example, UNICEF is beneficial for India. UNESCO is beneficial for India. Certain international bodies, well, India used global cooperation in those international bodies to serve its own national interests. It was win-win situation for the world as well as India. That would be impacted. And the last is China angle. When whichever position USA vacates now, or let's put it plain and simple, after USA, the next big power is China. And after USA vacates these international bodies, China will fill those shoes and China will assume leadership position because China alone has the capacity to do so. Now, if China gains leadership position in all these bodies in which India is interested in, this would directly impact India's national interests. This is a worrisome angle. Okay, so this is the impact. All right, that would be all. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is wide disparities within NATO. Now, basically, because the way NATO currently exists, USA is able to bully NATO allies. And the recent bullying action from USA was, USA is saying that we will occupy Greenland. Now, Greenland belongs to Denmark, Kingdom of Denmark. It is actually part of Kingdom of Denmark. And Denmark is part of NATO alliance. USA is also part of NATO alliance. Now, when USA made that statement that we are going to occupy Greenland by hook or by crook, okay, Denmark issued a strong statement that you can't do so. Then other European countries, which are also part of NATO, like UK, France, Germany, they also came out with statements that criticize Donald Trump or this statement of Donald Trump about Greenland. Okay, they have said, these European allies, these NATO allies have said that we stand with Denmark. And if USA tries to occupy Greenland, then this would mark the end of NATO. Okay, now we don't know what will happen in the future, but Donald Trump has also tried to say negative, critical things of NATO allies before also. Okay, he has been critical of NATO, and some people say he has been bullying NATO allies. In fact, he was critical of NATO. Okay, now his criticisms were different, which we'll discuss, but he has been criticizing NATO. Now, this position to criticize NATO comes from being the president of America, because America has a dominant position in NATO, so much so that it can easily bully NATO allies, all the other NATO allies, all the other 31 countries. USA alone can bully them. Now, why? Why? Let's investigate this. Okay, we'll get to know more information about NATO. So let's talk about this. Why disparities within NATO? So USA, with its dominant GDP and defense spending, holds leverage over NATO allies amid tensions like Trump's Greenland rhetoric. Okay, USA holds a lot of leverage, and that is why it can bully NATO allies. US economic output now surpasses the combined GDP of other NATO members. So USA's GDP is more than the combined GDP of all the other 31 countries. So it has economic might. Okay, this enables bullying and burden sharing. Plus, it's not just economic might. USA also basically outspends in terms of defense all the other NATO allies. US spends more on defense than all the other NATO allies. Okay, so this disparity between USA and all the other 31 NATO countries, well, this gives USA the leverage to bully other NATO countries. Now, what type of disparities are there? Let's investigate about these disparities in detail. Okay, you get a broad sense that USA has more defense spending, USA has more GDP. But let's investigate this issue in a little more detail. So NATO background. First, let's talk about NATO background. So it was formed in 1949, unites 32 member countries, including US, EU nations, UK, Canada, and others like Norway. Okay, now what are the core goals of NATO? Well, NATO is basically a military alliance. Okay, it is a military group, it is a military alliance. And the core aim of NATO is collective security, collective defense. And this collective defense comes from Article 5, which says an attack on any one country would mean an attack on all the others, and therefore all the others would jump into the war. Had Ukraine been a NATO country, Russia's invasion of Ukraine would have invited all the other NATO countries to jump into this war against Russia. But Ukraine was not a NATO country, so other countries, well, basically, they stopped. They only supply weapons to Ukraine, but they can't do anything more because Ukraine is not part of NATO. So that's the idea of NATO. Now, there are huge disparities between USA and other 31 countries. Okay, disparities in economic military power favor US, which outweighs the rest combined in key metrics. Now, what are those key metrics? USA's economic dominance. In 2025, US GDP exceeds the combined GDP of other NATO members by 13%. That's a lot. Okay. Then, defense spending also. In terms of defense spending, USA spends way more than all the other countries. And Donald Trump has criticized all the other countries for this, NATO countries. Donald Trump is saying that you are taking advantage of USA. USA is spending so much on defense. Because of that, USA is the only country that is providing you with security. You bank on USA for security. It is because we are spending so much money that you feel safe. And you spend that money in growing your economy. So this is wrong. USA says, Trump has said that this is wrong. We are spending so that you can feel safe. No, you have to equally pitch in. Okay, you have to increase your defense spending. That's the criticism leveled by Donald Trump, right? Now, USA also has strategic leverage. Okay, first of all, again, defense spending. Plus, American war machine is huge. No country can even dream of tackling USA, let alone these NATO allies thinking about, countering US actions. Okay, whatever USA will do, NATO has to stand by it. It is because of this reason that European Union does not have its own international policy. European Union's international policy is in sync with USA. And why so? Because for international policy, for your strong and independent international policy, you need, well, strong defense forces. European Union depends on USA for that. So if European Union goes contrary to US interests, Well, USA will say, we won't guarantee your security. And that's what EU is fearful of. That is why even EU's foreign policy we can't categorize it as independent. It's heavily dependent on USA because of the strategic leverage in economy, in defense spending, and the big war machine of USA. Okay, so this is the problem, right? So this is why USA can bully other NATO countries. Trump can bully other NATO countries. All right. Okay. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, which is important from fundamental rights in India, and that is free speech versus social media. So I'll give you a brief background of this entire case, what happened, and that's why this debate came up. So there was this ex-Muslim in Kerala who ran a YouTube channel, and in that YouTube channel, he basically tackled the orthodox Muslim propaganda, or basically he basically put across his viewpoint. He was an ex-Muslim, so his channel used to criticize Islamic leaders, Islamic scholars, okay, religious scholars. And what he did was on his YouTube channel to basically criticize these Islamic Maulvis, he used their YouTube clips to show that whatever they are saying is wrong and debunk them. All these things he used to do on his YouTube channel, right? Now, obviously, those Muslim clerics were not happy with this. Now, how could they get back to him? So, in YouTube, if you use someone's material, okay, then there is a copyright strike against you. If someone complains that he has used my material in his videos, then there is a copyright strike. And 3 copyright strikes can terminate your channel also. So various Muslim organizations basically complained to YouTube, and YouTube launched a copyright strike against him, okay, and basically gave him a notice. Now he says, now because of this action of YouTube, he replied to YouTube that he's not using their material, it's fair use. He's using their clips to give a counter viewpoint. This is not copyright violation, this is fair use doctrine. What is fair use doctrine? We'll talk about this, okay. So I am well within the bounds of fair use doctrine. So YouTube, you are wrong. But YouTube did not listen to him. So he filed a petition in Kerala High Court. And Kerala High Court has admitted this petition. His argument is that if YouTube censors him, then this would be a violation of his right to free speech in India. And how can you say that YouTube is bigger than Indian law? Now the debate is, well, you have right to free speech in public spaces, but YouTube says that this space is a private space because YouTube is a private company. Now, this puts India's right to free speech in conflict with the private space, private platform that is YouTube. Now, Kerala High Court will decide what would prevail, your right to free speech or right to operate your own private space, private platform. This is the entire debate, okay? And in this entire debate, there are a few legal concepts that you need to be aware of, like fair use doctrine, all these things. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so let's begin. So free speech versus social media. So what was in the news? Kerala High Court admitted a writ petition by YouTuber Liaquat Ali C challenging YouTube's rejection of his counter notifications against copyright strikes threatening his channel's termination. The case questions fair use doctrine in criticism videos. And basically, well, India's IT rules allow YouTube, remember this, India's IT rules allow YouTube to run its private platform the way it wants. As long as there is no illegal content that is being published on YouTube, well, YouTube is free to regulate all its content. Okay. Now, because of these IT rules, YouTube can act as a censor of your speech, can delete your speech, take down your video, all these things. Now, he says that these IT rules that permit YouTube to trample on our free speech is a violation of a constitutional fundamental right that is under Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A, and that is freedom of speech and expression. This is the conflict. Kerala High Court has admitted this petition, or Kerala High Court will decide, okay, whether these IT rules are right or these IT rules are unconstitutional because they allow YouTube to violate the Constitution, freedom of fundamental right, right? This is the entire case. Now, the case background, I have explained it to you, okay? There were copyright strikes against him. Now, the issue is you need to be aware of these legal concepts. Fair use doctrine, which Liaquat Ali said that I was well within this fair use doctrine, therefore I have not violated any copyright. Okay, what is fair use doctrine? It permits limited copyrighted material use for commentary, criticism, news, research without permission. So if you're using someone else's content, you have to take their permission, otherwise you'll get a copyright strike. Okay, but if you are using someone else's material for like commentary, criticism, you're not using their entire video, just clips for news reporting, like a news agency is showing a video, okay, reporting certain facts. Now you can't sue that news agency that you are in violation of copyright. This is fair use. Now he said that I was well within fair use, and if YouTube is not even permitting fair use, then my Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A, my fundamental right is being violated. Now, this power to YouTube to violate my fundamental right comes from IT Rules 2021. So he has challenged even IT rules also. Now, YouTube's policy is, well, if there are 3 copyright strikes against you, then, well, your channel will get terminated. So he's on the verge of getting terminated on YouTube. So that's why he has filed this petition in Kerala High Court. Right? Now, the constitutional challenges, the petition targets IT rules, okay, under IT Act 2000 for granting unbridled powers to YouTube to censor arbitrarily. Through these rules, YouTube gets this power to censor. It violates Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause A, free speech, turning platforms into unaccountable censors via opaque processes. Even YouTube lacks transparency. Transparency in what? This Mr. Liaquat Ali actually asked that, why are you giving me copyright strikes? I am under fair use. YouTube did not reply to that. So he posed a question that, what is your methodology in deciding what is fair use, what is not fair use? YouTube did not reply. So in that regard, he says this process is also non-transparent. And he cited a 2019 High Court ruling in which court ruled in favor of Article 19. Okay, and this petition challenges IT rules. Okay, now this has broader significance. Now we'll see what Kerala High Court rules, but based on its ruling, based on Kerala High Court's ruling, well, we will get more clarity on the powers of social media platforms in censoring. Who is superior, the private space, IT rules, or Article 19? This is the broader significance. Okay, and in this, there is this thing called safe harbor also. Safe harbor is that YouTube or Facebook won't be liable for anything posted on their platform, because YouTube is not posting anything illegal. Okay, users are. So if there is anything illegal on YouTube, YouTube is not held responsible. This is safe harbor. Now this safe harbor under Indian law is because as long as YouTube follows Indian law. So he's challenging this safe harbor protection also. So let's see what happens. I'm not elaborating more on safe harbor because we have already discussed safe harbor in our previous current affairs videos. Okay, so we will cut it short at this only. All right, now let's move on to last news item, and that is shadow fleet of Russia. It's very simple and I'll explain how. So you see, the thing is that, well, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Western countries put economic sanctions on Russia. The rationale for those economic sanctions were that Russia is a significant oil exporter. Okay, now by exporting oil, Russia will earn money, and that money will be used to finance its aggression, its war against Ukraine, which is unlawful. So we want to prevent Russia to finance its war machine in Ukraine, right? So for that reason, we are putting these economic sanctions. Through these economic sanctions, Russia won't be able to sell its oil to the world, right? That was the purpose. Now, these economic sanctions basically, won't allow official ships to transport Russian oil. But Russia started using smuggling ships, who were dubious ships, to export that oil to India, China, and many other countries. Okay, these dubious ships, they evade any tracking by Western countries, by international authorities. They evade those tracking. You cannot track them. They somehow use GPS spoofing and all the other ways through which you cannot track who's the owner of this ship, what is the route of this ship. These are completely smuggling ships. These ships are called shadow fleet, and Russia used these shadow fleet to export its oil. These sanctions, economic sanctions, were also put on Iran, Venezuela. And both Iran, Venezuela also used their own shadow fleet to export their oil, whichever way they could. Okay, so Russia, Iran, Venezuela were using these shadow fleets. Now, USA captured Maduro, took control of Venezuela, and it was found that Russia was buying oil from Venezuela using these shadow fleets. Okay, so USA recently destroyed one such shadow fleet. Russia was not happy with this, but USA did so. Okay, it was a Russian shadow fleet ship. Now, this has put into question what are shadow fleets. So we will investigate what are shadow fleets. Let's quickly talk about this. Okay, so shadow fleet of Russia. So USA has escalated enforcement against the shadow fleet vessels evading sanctions on oil from Iran, Venezuela, Russia, seizing tankers like Marinera ship, Sofia, name of the ship, Centuries, name of the ship, and Skipper. Now, what are these shadow fleets? It is a broad term for vessels using deception to hide ownership of the ship so that when these ships are seized, you cannot track the owner. Cargo origin, where did this cargo originate from? Evading Western sanctions. It currently is the backbone for Iran, Venezuela, Russian oil exports, obviously. Now, there are two types of shadow fleet. Dark fleet, which are completely illegal. These are high risk, fully deceptive. You cannot even see them. That's dark fleet. Then there are gray fleet. These are ships which don't do anything illegal. They just find loopholes. Okay. So they won't go to new routes. They would use unused shipping routes so that there is less tracking. Okay. Seems legal but risky. Irregular routes are used, sudden ownership shifts. So this is borderline legal illegal. This is completely illegal. Okay. Now, the tactics used to remain undetected. So turn off AIS transponders. The ships and ports are in communication. You turn them off. So you are unable to know their real-time location. They even use GPS spoofing to showcase fake locations. So in enemy radar systems, not radar systems, but if the ships are being tracked by port authorities, they would fake their location. Then ship-to-ship transfer. So Russia would load oil on a ship to India. Then this ship would transport the oil to another ship in between the route, okay, on the oceans. So if someone is tracking this Russian ship, this ship will transport oil to other ship and that ship will reach India. So this is there. Then they change the flags also. Every ship has a flag, country's flag. They would change that also. So all these tactics are used. Okay. Now what are the risks? Sometimes these ships are not modern ships, these are old ships and they are transporting oil. So that can lead to chances, or that can lead to oil spills. Okay. Marine pollution. Now, sometimes Russian Navy escorts these ships. And if this ship is intercepted by another country's Navy, well, that can lead to a conflict between Russian Navy and that Navy. Now, USA recently seized Russian flag tankers, which can escalate the conflict between Russia and India. And buyers like India and China would get impacted because this shadow fleet was being used to export oil to big consumers like India and China. Okay, so this is the impact. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series and you revise this lecture from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. So in the hope that you'll do that, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.